the early 90s, during my days with the bank, there was a loan request from a long-standing client whose industry wouldn't have fitted in with the ideal borrower list based on the credit norms and risk practices at that time. My initial conversation with our credit team led me to believe that we may not be able to organize the line of credit for this client. I spent more time than I should have stewing over the problem by myself and not reaching out either to the client or my work colleagues to look at possible options. After losing sleep for a few days, just running through these scenarios in my head, I decided to ask for help. Welcome back to my Thursday video series where I share examples for you to use at work to make your messaging sticky. Asking for help is one of the most difficult tasks for most people. I've heard people describe it as uncomfortable, embarrassing, needing a lot of courage. In addition to appearing inadequate and incompetent, most people also fear the possibility of rejection. And that would explain why most people are reluctant to ask for help. If I was saying this to a group of people in person, I would definitely see a lot of nods. I read about this incident on Founding Fuel's newsletter, where they talked about an extract from Stanford professor Jeffrey Pfeffer's book, 7 Rules of Power, surprising but true advice on how to get things done and advance your career. In a paper published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology in July 2008, and the paper was titled, If You Need Help, Just Ask, Frank Flynn and his co-author Vanessa Lake, both from Stanford, described the results of 6 experiments about asking for help. So the series of studies were testing whether people underestimated the likelihood that others would say yes when there were direct requests for help. In the first 3 studies, they found that people underestimated by as much as 50% that others would agree to their request for help. And the range of requests were, say, some things like borrowing the phone for a short call, walking with them to the gym to show our directions, or sometimes even something as simple as filling a questionnaire. The other side of it was that they also overestimated the number of people that they would have to reach out by the time they got help. And that overestimation was also up by a factor of 2. When Keith Ferrazzi, who is a marketing guru and best-selling author, graduated from Harvard Business School in 1992, he was deciding between accepting a job between the 2 consulting firms, McKinsey and Deloitte. Pat Loconto, who was the former head of Deloitte, was trying to talk Keith into coming and joining them. Before he accepted, however, Keith insisted that he wanted to see the head guys. Loconto agreed to meet Ferrazzi at an Italian restaurant in New York City. After we had a few drinks, and this is Pat recounting, Keith said that he would accept the offer on one condition. He and I would have to have dinner once a year at the same restaurant. So I promised to have dinner with him once a year, and that's how we recruited him. That way, he was guaranteed access to the top, Pat says. Sounds like a bold move, right? But what was the downside? Often the worst thing that can happen if you ask for help, especially something as big as maybe dinner with a CEO, is rejection, being told no. But people probably weren't going to get that anyway in the absence of even having to ask for it in the first place. Most people suffer from the sting of being turned down. A lot of sales folks, and you'll hear them say that, if you can't stand being rejected, don't go into sales. But everybody is selling themselves on their ideas all the time. So getting used to asking, being turned down, and then going and asking again for different things from different people could be a dumb thing. Now, back to my bank incident. Eventually, when I did reach out, everyone geared up to make the transaction work within the stated guidelines. I still remember the look on my client's face when I went and told him that we were able to go ahead with the funding and that this is how we would structure it. So it was an aha moment for me to learn to take help from the ecosystem and not try solving everything by myself. And this is something I urge everyone, students, new joinees, entrepreneurs to do. Create your own personal board of advisors within and outside your organization whom you can reach out to and hear considered views. Asking does break some rules, maybe personal anxieties and personal values, but it works. As Flynn and Lake's article says it, if you need help, just ask. What's your experience been in asking? Do share in the comments and I'd love to hear from you.